Hey everyone, welcome to welcome to accelerators.org and Jeff Bruno. Not that I'm super exciting anyway, but because I am the resident finance, or one of the residents finance guys and strategy guys on that side. So we can't be fun, can we? Anyway, hope some people are joining today. I have a few good questions here. So I want to get into them and see if I can help some people who are cranking in our continued uncertain times in this environment. Inflation is nuts. It's affecting things. There's causing a lot of layoffs. There's a lot of uncertainty out there. Janet Yellen, on one hand, says, "Oh, everything's going to be fine," and then another guy, doomsday guy, comes out and says, "We're going to crash, the biggest crash ever." You can't follow any of that junk. You got to see what's affecting you in your market, because there's a lot of sectors that are doing well. Some sectors are doing worse. It seems to be a sector by sector play here, is what I'm seeing. And consumer buying is still pretty strong. So please think about that. It's not a doom and gloom yet. It's definitely a sector issue for now. So let me jump in and start with some of these questions. Excited about today. Let's see what we get. So, first question is Jennifer Kale. She asks, "How do I demote my operations manager back to assistant? I own a bookkeeping firm and promote my assistant to operations manager. After a few months, I realize that the promotion is premature, as this is not the right skill set for the individual." Jennifer, you asked this before, I believe, on my last Zoom. I think this was you, unless you're asking the same question. Somebody's asking the same exact question. But it's not really a financial strategy question at all, or even a planning question, but more of a retention question in my mind. So, like, do you think that person will stay, and do you value that person in the former role they were doing? Because if there's a pay adjustment back down, it's very rare that people will tolerate that. Now, it might be correct, meaning it might be they are not fit for the role and they should be in that other role. However, they will probably quit. Now, that's just my assumption, but most people do that. So if, you know, if you have a real frank conversation with them, I think that's probably the best way to go, and kind of say, "Hey, look, here are the pieces. Here are what you're supposed to do. Here's what you are not doing. In theory, you should have had a good kind of, I'll say, plan or objectives, almost like a metric plan for that person, in a sense of, hey, here's this role, here's this newer role, here's what you were doing, here's what you have to do in this new role, and here are the pieces that we're going to track in the new role to make sure that you're being successful." If you didn't set that up, bad on your part, but I've gone through it. I've had problems with that. I've lost employees because of that, because expectations weren't aligned. So, good luck with that. But I would sit down and be honest with them and say, "Look, you're not hitting the deal. Here's the pieces. Do you think you can do this? I'll give you a month to maybe try to do it, but here is what you got to hit. Otherwise, you got to be demoted. And if you want to stay, I hope you can stay. I like what you do on that level. If not, good luck." So, next question is from Kirsten Pitts. Kirsten asks, "What are the key documents needed between a vendor and a buyer after agreeing on a sales order? I'm a vendor for golf apparel selling to retail buyers. I have 1 year of sales. I sold to trusted friends and family my first year. I learned that I need to create a credit application for them to fill out. What else is needed when I start selling to other retailers? Do I need a specific contract agreement when closing? What do you recommend overall, including other ways to protect myself in case of potential incidents?" So, Kristen, this is really a question for an attorney. This is a straight up corporate attorney who would answer this. Not really me. Sorry about that. Hopefully, ask a corporate attorney. Next question, Eric Blandino. Eric asks, "What are the ways that we can have our team members earn my trust in the field to focus on the work and not take advantage of time? I feel like team members will take advantage working independently when not watched. We're in the business of giving people their homes back from the invasion of rats. Our team members execute the processes in the field individually with a schedule. I've been told by 2 team members in the past that we don't trust our team members because we had trackers in the vehicles and I questioned them on time management. I seen them stop at their home, grab food in between accounts, pick up pets, etc., all in company time in our company vehicle. Oh yeah, Eric, this is tough. So I'm a big fan of trackers. So I have no issue with trackers. It's a way for you to build a business. I think it's important that you have GPS trackers in your cars because you have to look at your scenario from an efficiency level of growth. So on the flip side, I don't mind small deviations. People have issues. People are, the world has changed post-COVID here, really, unfortunately or fortunately. If they're all in a local area and their home's nearby and they stop for 15 minutes at their home to get something that they forgot I don't think it's a great thing, but I think it can be tolerated if it's made clear from the beginning that that's okay, but there are limits and that you're tracking the vehicles. That's kind of how I feel about it, in the sense of, look, guys, if you take a half an hour of your day and then you take, half an hour for lunch, and it's your hour lunch break and you run around doing a couple errands, who cares? But can't disrupt the schedule, can't be late to appointments, that makes us look bad, can't miss appointments because you had to go do something, can't be, taking more than an hour, past your lunchtime, more than an hour 15 or so to go do something. You got to be within your, be realistic about it. And I'm sure people would be fine with it. And then I agree with you, man. If people are taking advantage and they're spending 2.5 hours of their day running errands, running around, they got to go. You got to fire them. They're not the right people. That's it. Full stop. I like the trackers. I think it's important. And you just got to have a sense of trust with people from the very beginning. Next question. Kimberly Benjamin. Kimberly asks, what are things to take into consideration when compensating employees and contract workers? One of my businesses is a hair salon, and I want to sell direct-to-consumer products. And I have a sister who has a great deal of followers online. I want to offer her a way to make money with me focusing on sales by posting the products and bringing in new business. I'd like to offer her commissions since I don't have the budget to do a salary. What are some things I should take into consideration to incentivize her and make sure she's happy and I make a profit? Great. I love it. So, you want to sell direct products and your sister has followers. That's phenomenal. Love it. So you got to work out a model that makes sense. So what I mean is, do you want to give your sister commission on the sale price? Probably, just so she understands. And if you have other people doing that, they understand what their construct is. But you have to make it so it makes sense for you to take some of those monies and reinvest them in your business for growth. That's the essentially the pitch you want to say. It's not necessarily about you making money. I mean, it is because it's your business. You're putting it in your business. But the idea is that you got to use these people to facilitate growing your business, not putting money in your pocket, ultimately. I think that's the best way to approach this, especially with your sister, because you want to have a sense of camaraderie there and say, hey, here's what I'm doing with those dollars. I'm going to do this, and it's going to build up more, and then we might be able to do more together, or whatever that is. So the way I would structure it is either on sales, percentages of sales, or a percentage on your gross profit. So after the product cost, how much is left, and give them a percentage. Generally, the way it works is this. If you're doing on sales something like 3 to 7% of sales is a typical range. Now, I don't know what your product markup is, but typically product markups are 100 to 200%, typically in that range. So you want to say, well, you're at a 3 to 7% on sales. Depending, you could do a thing where you depend on volume. As you hit volume numbers, you can up 3% to start. You hit a certain volume, 4, 5, 6, 7, boom, on sales. Generally, how that translates to your product margin is usually around 15 to 25% in that same scale. So 3 to 7 or 8 on sales, even 10 sometimes on sales, 3 to 10 or 4 to 10, and 15 to 25 if you're doing it on gross profit after cost. So typically that's a good way to structure it. Hope that helps. So next question is from Roy Mangrum. Roy says, how do I look to structure my pricing for a new service that I want to provide to a customer base I'm looking to develop for my business? I own a clothing brand with a warehouse in Tennessee and looking to add extra revenue by offering fulfillment products for other companies that do not want to do fulfillment themselves since I have the warehouse space and labor. How would you recommend me researching to figure out how much I should charge? Okay, so specifically, Roy, this is very, very tricky. So doing fulfillment for other people is a very tricky endeavor. I don't mind it. It's a great way to, I'll say, fill some of your space in your warehouse. Okay, but here's what happens. You got to be very careful. This can distort your operating process. Like take up warehouse space or take up machines you're using or take up limit, shipping, receiving people on your end if they're stocked. And let's say you have a influx of clothing deals that are happening and you want your people to do it, but you're being a 3PL, third party logistics for these other people. So you have to get their orders out on time. Now you're conflicting. You're conflicting scenario. And it's very hard to manage that as a small business owner because you know what ultimately happens? One of your people doesn't show up one day. Then you're doing it. Or some people are sick, or a machine breaks down, or your loader doesn't work, or you're not in a space temporarily. You got to be very careful with doing that. So what I would do first is I would test it with a small, more local kind of person who's looking for storage. Not too much logistics, maybe just storage. And then, hey, they come in once a week to go grab stuff and ship it. Or once a week on a set time, you're shipping it for them and you're just generally storing it. If you could set up constructs that are pretty simplistic so you don't have operational interruptions, that's a good way to start. So I always worry about people trying to mingle things to fill out space and make more money on fulfillment while you're downtime. I like the concept. You just got to be very careful. So how to price it? I mean, it's simple. I think you just price it on, a storage fee, make up some sort of minimal storage fee, and then it's hourly time for people to move stuff around. So if, for example, your guys are maybe, let's say their average of like $30 an hour for your team, loaded cost of your team to move stuff around, you want to have a real good markup on that. So you want to be, 75 to 125 an hour, depending on what it is. 125 might be a little high, but let's say 75 an hour for that person is what you charge the people who are storing or using your fulfillment. So you might say, all right, for us to do that, it would normally take us 5 hours, or 4 hours. So it's $300 plus the storage cost. So if you have it here for a month, it's $100 in storage and it's $300 of my team's time to maneuver for you. So $400. That's how I would price it. Very simply that way. You're taking up this much space. It's that much in value. Doesn't matter if it's some weeks it's lower, some weeks it's higher. You're taking up that space you think you need, and here's our hourly construct that you bill for time. That's it. So hope that helps. Next question is Jessica Stahl, and Jessica's our last question here. Jessica Stahl says, when do I know I should fire a team member, whether contractor or employee? I have a business consulting and coaching business for the roofing industry. I have an employee, even though they have not technically signed their W-2 agreement, that I pay $75,000 per year. She performs well in some tasks, but we're having a very serious value system and respect with boundary problem. She speaks to me as though she has no respect for me in the company. And many of her personal mannerisms have come into the workplace and are completely unprofessional in private and in public settings, even with team members. I know I should let her go, but there's one client that owes us a lot of money. I'm concerned that they will not pay or keep paying. And I'm also a little bit concerned about her trying to compete with me. What should I do? Fire her, or should I say this is causing me a lot of stress as well? Woo, Jessica, so this is not really a financial strategy question, but I've dealt with this a little bit. So it's really tricky. Really, really, really tricky. So I'm not a lawyer. I want to say this off first. But what I do know is that when you change job titles or you change the way you are paying somebody, I believe, even in the way you're paying them, like from 1099 to W, especially 1099 to W2, I believe you can enforce a non-compete or a new non-compete. Not enforce, meaning have them sign a non-compete. So I would go to your attorney, get a standard non-compete. So here's one way to beat the non-compete thing, is say, hey, whatever your employee's name is, we're going to bring you on as W-2 because I need to better manage your time. We need to facilitate for this big client. We have a lot coming up. I'll pay you W-2. I'll give you a little bit of an expense budget, and in doing that, here's what I need you to sign. A non-compete and a non-solicit probably. So I would first structure that. If she balks at that, you immediately know she's not a good fit and she might compete with you. So I would say it's probably good to get rid of her ASAP at that point. If you're not going to get her to sign it, you're dead in the water. Second, she can compete with you. So you might as well fire her. Second, if she's acting that way, she's not a good fit for you and other clients won't like her. So don't worry about the non-compete. Like, they're not going to take her on. You'll out-compete her. So get rid of her. And what you're saying there as well is issues. That's almost like a cancer of a scenario. So if you had to temporarily spend 70, 80 hours a week of your time to work with that client to save it and get rid of her, people who work with you will probably be very happy if she's causing trouble in the workplace. That's usually the case. A lot of people wait too long, and then what happens is they lose the client, and she goes. No matter what, the client goes. So you have a chance now to probably save the client. So try that. Try asking her first about coming on W-2 and changing agreements. If she balks, let her go. Jump in on the client yourself. I know that you probably don't want to do that, but it might be the avenue to go. So like your business model, I checked it out online a little bit. I think there's a need for that. I wish you really some good luck there, Jessica. I think there's a good need for what you're doing. I think it's very difficult space you're in, as I'm sure people tell you. But if you have a knack for understanding those people in your space, then you have an in to give them some really good coaching and advice. So I like the approach. Excellent, guys. These were great questions today. Very, very happy I could, hopefully answer some that can give you some ideas to move forward. And it is Friday the 14th of April. And looking forward to finishing up here on the East Coast soon. So everybody have a great day. Good to see whoever was on. And let's go get them, man. Crank those businesses up. Talk soon.